So let's talk about the Book of Henry, which I just went and saw. And I was really curious about this movie because I looked at the ratings and I heard that it was just a terrible movie. I heard it was really, really horrendously bad. And I went into it going, man, this might be a fun, bad movie to watch, maybe. Because the way the trailer looked, because I only saw the trailer once, but it looked like it would be like I don't get why it'd be that bad. And I just thought it looked like it would be a simple story, like about a kid who's just trying to help out a girl who's being apparently molested or beaten or whatever, like next door. But the thing I love about this movie, and this is going to be a full spoiler discussion because I can't talk about this without spoiling it. The thing I love about this movie, and not in a way that it's a good movie at all, is just it is so crazy in how it is three different tones in each of the three acts of the movie. The first act is just family together with smart kid Henry, and other brother. So he's played by Jacob Tremblay, who you might have known from Room, but I forgot his name in the movie, so I'll just say Jacob. But Naomi Watts is the mom, and they're a family, and the son Henry is taking care of the mother, and the mother isn't acting like the mother. She plays video games. She doesn't do anything that a mother does. And then we get to the second act, which this is a major spoiler, in which Henry gets a tumor in his brain, or it's kind of building up to it, and by that I mean it shows two separate scenes where he kind of has a headache and you hear a noise in the screen like he's got something going on in his head. And then in the second act, he has a tumor and dies. And it is surprising because it's not even the third act. It's so close to not being that far into it that he dies. And the trailer didn't make it look like that. At least the one I saw, it looked like he was the one who was giving this book to his mom to help her save the girl next door. But the way that the trailer did it and the way that the movie did it is weird because it's so obvious now that he died, and I don't know why wouldn't have thought of that in the first place. But I thought that the second act is interesting because it does escalate from happy family, kind of has a couple problems, to cancer, and then third act, which has Henry, even though he's dead, recorded a whole series of messages for the mother to go and kill the stepfather next door of the little girl. And again, it's so weird how it kept changing through three acts, because the first one is happy, okay, happy. And then the second one is despair and sadness and nothing is good in the world. And then you get to the third act, which mother who has never shot a gun before, apparently, I would assume, who has never used a weapon, who has never killed anybody, will just automatically go and murder this man. And it's just so interesting how it kept changing through all three acts. And the way that it went along with it, like, it feels like the film, even though it's not a good film, it feels like it's cohesive, even though the tones are so different. Like, the characters still stay what they were, I guess, even though they have weird changes, like the mother just going out and wanting to kill a guy, and she almost does. But the way that the story is, it is cohesive, but it's not, and just you see that these characters are kind of the same throughout, for the most part. But then every tone in the three acts is so weird and so jumbled. I don't understand why. And it's weird because I don't think this is Colin Trevorrow's fault, or Trevorrow, however you say his name, the director of Jurassic World. I don't think this is his fault, probably. But I just think that it's such a weird movie that I don't even know if he is responsible for this kind of thing. It's probably because of what the script was, that whoever made the script did this weird tonal change probably in each part of the movie. Or maybe it might have worked better in another sense, but I don't know. I don't know who's at fault here. But it's just a weird Hollywood movie that really, even though I haven't seen Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, I feel like this is probably similar to that. It looks like that tonally. That movie looks very similar. I haven't seen that still, but it looks like it's kind of that, where it's just you get an interpretation from the trailer of what it is, but then I hear that that movie is not what it is interpreted with the trailers. It's really different. So it's just another one of those movies that's marketed wrongly, but it didn't piss me off as much as Collateral Beauty, which came out last year, which to me, hands down, was my least favorite film of last year because that movie just pulled so many punches in being so batshit insane and just a bad movie that logically made absolutely no sense. And this one, I didn't think was good, but I didn't hate it at all. The pacing was fine, even though the tones were all different in each act. The pacing was fine. It didn't bore me. I was interested throughout, and I didn't get really bored at all. I thought that I throughout, even though it isn't consistent, it was a fine pacing, and it was like an hour and 45 minutes, so it wasn't a super long set either. But it's really strange. It's a really odd Hollywood movie, and I could say a couple other good things about it. I think Naomi Watts did a good job, and Jacob Tremblay did a good job, and the kid who played Henry did fine. And all the other ones, all the other actors that are kind of there too, like Sarah Silverman, she did fine, but she wasn't. I mean, she had couple jokes, but she kind of fell more into the dramatic category in this movie because this is a drama, kind of a drama and a lot of other things, but for the most part, it's drama. And Sarah Silverman in this does have jokes, but she's not. I don't know. She's not completely jokey the whole time, but she's not in the movie a lot. But she has a couple moments where it's dramatic. But I think it's funny to see her in this kind of movie. I didn't think that I didn't expect her at all to be in this. Like she doesn't really have much screen time, which is weird because she's kind of the best friend of Naomi Watts, and they have a subplot about her alcoholism, but it's never explained after like the first act. It's never brought up again. So I don't know. I don't know why they had that. And this movie like really falls into that category of having, like I said, it's tonally so weird, but it has a lot of things that don't add up in the end. It just doesn't work cohesively at all. But I don't know, man. This one was a weird one. And there are things that did annoy me a lot that were logically didn't make sense, but it didn't piss me off to the level of Collateral Beauty. At least for most films I've seen recently, it didn't piss me off at that level for that one I saw before. But there were things like where Henry wrote this or recorded this whole thing of messages that Naomi Watts' character would hear in her earbuds. Like she would be listening to this going on where she would go and take money out of an ATM that apparently Henry has gained. I don't know how much money it said. Was it like $1 million or something? 3.6 million or some shit like that. Where like this 12-year-old kid has gained this much money in stocks and has surpassed all this amount of money at 11 years old, and the mom never knew about it. And with his messages after he dies, he tells her that. So he says, "Go to the ATM, go buy a gun. We got you a new car. It'll be a getaway car." And then go and murder this man who might or might not be molesting or beating this girl. And we never get the full information on that, if she ever was molested or beaten, because you never see it. You only see the shot from across to the next house where the girl is and the uncle is. Or, I mean, the stepfather is. And how he's downstairs drinking something. I guess whiskey or scotch or whatever. He's drinking that, goes upstairs, opens the door, it cuts to Naomi Watts, and she goes, and gasp. And then that's all you see. And you don't hear anything, so you don't know if she what had happened to her, but she's also quiet throughout the movie because of whatever he did. But you never get the full picture of what he did, which I don't know. That didn't piss me off, but I did want to know. But just for the story's sake. But I mean, it also made it kind of interesting that they didn't go that route and made it really gross, I guess. But I don't know. It's just weird, and it's weird how, like I said, with Henry and all these messages he recorded, and how he will say something and she will talk to him like he's there, but he's not there. He's dead. It's a recording that he recorded for her, and he will say, "Nice shot, mom," or she will go down the street, walk to the left, and he says, "To your right." She walks to the left, and then he says, "Your other right," and then goes the other way, so, like he's right there speaking to her, and that to me was so weird. And I thought it was weird how it is interspliced at the end with Naomi Watts almost murdering the man with the sniper while there's the kids' talent show going on, which the girl and Jacob is in. They both are in that school talent show. And you see all these other kids, which I don't know why you see all these kids in this talent show. There was one scene where like these girls were doing ballet or no, they were tap dancing, and they were doing the tap dancing to make it sound like music, which I thought for a second sounded kind of cool because if there was something going on with Naomi Watts that made it intense, but nothing intense was happening, but the tap dancing made it sound like it was urgent, like there was something big that was going to happen in the movie. It was going to make something happen that would make you make like it was building up to something with that music they were making while they were tap dancing. But nothing was going on with her on that end, so I kept intersplicing with between that and every other kid in the talent show while she was going to the treehouse and getting the sniper to assassinate him and leading him out there. But it's weird that they showed all of these kids and it didn't really add up. And there's this one kid who it's such a dumb joke where like this kid raps, but he says it in a clean version where he says it like he says everything that is a replacement word for a cuss word, and then it sounds dumb. It sounds really like annoying, and I don't know why it bothered me that much. And then at the end, he drops his mic. Of course, he dropped his mic, but it was just dumb, and it was no reason to have that in the scene. Like, why did you need that? And then, for some reason, at the beginning of the movie, whenever Henry is alive, and he tells the principal that this girl's being abused by her stepfather, and he need to call services, and she said, "Well, I have no definitive proof, so I'm not going to do it." And he says, "Okay, I'll do it myself." And then this is after he died at the end of the movie, where the girl is ballet dancing, and for some reason the principal looks at the girl and starts crying, like she knows that she's being abused now. But where the fuck did that come from? How did that elaborate on anything? Like, how did you get from point A to point B? Like with that, because like I said, the only thing Henry said at the beginning was she's being abused, and she said, "I have no proof." And then you see just the principal watching her ballet dance, and then she starts crying, the teacher. And that means that she understands now? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And that was one of the things that actually annoyed me really bad, but I didn't expect this to be good anyways, because usually, I mean, I don't always agree with critics a lot of the time for things, but whenever it's negative, I feel like it's probably not going to be great for me. And going into this one, I thought it would be worse than what it was. I mean, it wasn't good. It was a mix of tones with a lot of things that didn't add up or make any sense, a lot of subplots that weren't needed, a lot of logical things that weren't needed, but it wasn't in a way that pissed me off like Collateral Beauty did. It for me, it just was an hour and 45 minutes that came and went, and that was it. It was just, I got a okay performance out of Naomi Watts and Jacob Tremblay, and the kid who played Henry was fine. Everybody else was fine too, like Lee Pace too, Sarah Silverman. They were all fine, but that's really all I could say is that the acting was fine, but the story was out there and so weird and had a lot of things that didn't add up or make sense. But it wasn't in a way that made me so mad that I angrily, viciously wanted to hate this movie. And I didn't. I didn't think it was the worst thing ever, but it wasn't good. So yeah, overall, just not good, but it's a fascinating set. It's a fascinating movie to watch because it's got a lot of things that don't work about it, and that made it interesting to look at these things and wonder what they were thinking whenever they wrote this movie, or what the direction was for Colin Trevorrow, and how these characters go from point A to point B, and logical things that don't make sense. But overall, yeah, the Book of Henry was just not good, but I didn't hate it. So, yeah, anyways, it was just, I don't know. I really don't know what to think. It's a fascinating movie, I guess is all I could say. But thanks guys so much for watching. Check out my other stuff. I did some more videos recently on the newest releases. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.